If you've played Minecraft before, then this experience should feel familiar. Throw in some virtual reality for good measure, and if you're wondering just how familiar this game feels, well, let's talk about it. Usually I'd tell you that flat screen gameplay doesn't do VR games justice, but in this case, what you see is exactly what you get. This game looks exactly like this, with pixelated blocks everywhere. But while the world is made up of these classic blocks, some of the creatures and non-blocky objects have been reskinned. They're still simple in design though, with a touch of extra detail sprinkled in. I can only assume that this is to make the game feel a bit more original, though I don't get why that would be a concern when you're totally not blatantly copying one of the top 3 best-selling games in history. I was initially wondering why this game is still in early access, especially since it's totally not Minecraft, and this developer totally doesn't have Minecraft's homework. Then I ran into a bug that allowed me to see through the world by sticking my head inside of blocks. After doing some digging, I think I figured out why this game, that's totally not Minecraft or anything, hasn't been sued for copyright infringement, but we'll talk about that in a bit. For now, let's talk about the mechanics. Now when it comes to how this game plays, it plays exactly the way you'd expect. You can delve underground, build things, and explore endless open worlds. Of course, tools make it easier to explore, mine through tunnels, or cut down trees. As for the crafting system used to make these tools, it's very similar to Minecraft, down to the names of things, but this totally isn't that game. If you know how to make things in Minecraft though, you won't need to Google anything, since this game that you've never played before will feel like you know it like the back of your hand. The animations also have a nostalgic vibe to them. The things you unalive will fall over and poof into a cloud of smoke in the most familiar way. Jokes aside, this game doesn't actually play too terribly. You can either use buttons on your controllers to swap between items on your hotbar, or intuitively tap directly on them for a quick select. It kind of sucks that the item bar is fastened to your left hand, since I couldn't find a way to change this, but you can use both hands regardless of which one you actually have the block in. You can use either hand to break things too, which requires you to hold down the trigger. Some objects don't give you any feedback though, making you feel like you're just awkwardly staring at something, but trust me, it's working. About as well as the third-person camera in fact. The first time I used it was by accident, and I thought the game was bugging out, but after playing with it, I found it surprisingly easy to get used to. In general, all the mechanics for the most part work as expected, but let's switch gears and talk about the theme. The developers over at Tellurion Mobile wrote a straight-to-the-point description of their game. They described this game as, quote, the original Sandbox game. If you think that's a stretch, leave a comment below. But they went on to add what sounds like something straight out of 2015 Google Translate, and it reads, quote, try to survive and use 100 plus types of blocks to build your unique town. It's interesting that they chose to say that, since there are no NPCs in this game yet from what I've seen. This game's theme is Survival Sandbox, and it's actually a well-executed theme, considering they, again, totally didn't clone one of the most popular games of all time or anything. But I've yet to ask the big question. If this game looks like Minecraft and plays like it, is it really a clone if it doesn't sound the same? Well, let's talk about that. If you're hoping for background music here, you'll be disappointed. It's hard to clone something like that without flat out calling yourself the same game, but when it comes to sound effects, that's a different story. Take animal footsteps for example. No matter what terrain they're on, they all kind of sound the same. If I'd imagine a pirate with a wooden leg slowly walking across the deck of a ship, this is exactly what it'd sound like. This is what cows and pigs sound like when walking across grass. Most other noises sound almost like a direct audio rip from Minecraft, from the sound of breaking grass to the noises zombies make when baking in the sun. The audio experience here is almost exactly what you expect. But when it comes to the options, there aren't many options here at all, and out of the few, there are maybe 3 worth touching. First off, you can adjust the brightness, and this lets you make nighttime as creepy or as safe as you want it to feel. Then there's the ability to adjust how far you can see to a noticeable extent. Like Minecraft, it's relayed in chunks, with the maximum being 9 chunks of render distance. I'm not exactly sure what a chunk is, but for reasons totally unrelated to Minecraft, I think it's a 16 by 16 segment of blocks. And lastly, there's an in-game FPS counter. This is an unexpectedly modern touch that lets you see how well your game is running in real time. It's not something you'd usually see in a game like this, but if nothing else, it's nice to have. The other options I didn't even bother with since the game ran smoothly with the original settings, and I felt like touching these would ruin that. And to wrap this up, if you put everything together and you're wondering what you should expect from Realmcraft VR, I'll put it this way. Imagine Mojang, the developers of Minecraft, selling a mobile game company their assets and giving them permission to port an earlier version of Minecraft to VR. Sprinkle some original touches in here and there and voila, you've got Minecraft at home. As for why a lawsuit hasn't been filed, Mojang publicly stated years ago that they won't sue Minecraft clone makers because the clones seem too boring to them. Most Minecraft clones are either unique spins on the original game or flat out budget copies, and this one just happens to be the latter, just in VR. But let me know in the comments if you think profit-hungry game clones are alright if the developer allows them. As for the scores I usually add, I can't score this game because fair is fair and this game is still in early access. If you're curious as to how this game stacks up to other VR titles though, check out some of my other reviews on the channel. And until next time, stay immersed.